Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is all about how you could potentially qualify as a solicitor in the UK without having to do a training contract and without having to do the SQE. If you're new here, my name is Charlotte and I'm an in-house legal executive in the UK, and my channel hopes to share tips and advice on working in the legal industry. If you are like me and you are already working as a paralegal or similar, and you've done the LPC, and the last thing you want to do is more exams and more assessments, then this video is 100% for you. And not enough people talk about this way of qualifying, and I want to show as many people as possible that it is an option. Finding out about this was not easy. It took me probably months of investigation to determine that this was actually an option. You go around in circles. I had to check, double check, triple check that this was an option for me before I put in too much energy into the process and realized it wasn't an option. But I have heard of other people doing it and I am nearly done with it. And so I want to share with as many people as possible in the hopes that if you are also in a similar position to me, then you have an option that doesn't include more exams. I am going to take you through the SRA website, going through step by step on how exactly you can do this. Now, I will leave a link down below to the SRA website, as there are a couple of dates and courses and things that you need to have done by a certain time, and they're quite specific. So I'm going to leave a link for that down below. Please click on that, double check that you meet those transitional requirements, and then come back to this video and keep watching. But essentially, you need to have either done your qualifying law degree, secured a place on the LPC, or there's a couple of other different things by September 2021. If you have done this, then you most likely meet those transitional requirements, and this way of qualifying is an option to you. If you're not sure whether you meet those transitional requirements, just ping the SRA an email. They're super responsive, really helpful, or pick up the phone. But make sure that you do meet those transitional requirements before delving into this, because it's a lengthy process, it's a lot of hard work and dedication, and so I don't want you to get halfway down the line and then realize that you don't actually qualify. So make sure that you meet those transitional requirements and then continue with the process. Secondly, you need to be supervised by a solicitor. Now, this is where it tripped me up, as I work in-house and I was the only legal person in the company at the time. I started off as a paralegal and we only used external law firms when we needed it. So this required me to pitch to my company to get their endorsement to support me through this process, to essentially pay to have a supervising solicitor work alongside me for 2 years so that I can satisfy the SRA requirements. I'm going to do a completely separate video all about that and how I got the endorsement of the company for my LPC and for the supervising solicitor and all of that. A lot of effort went into it. So I feel like this is an area where people maybe don't know how to approach it, don't know how to pitch it. Therefore, I thought it was worthy of its own video. So that will be coming soon, and I will link it down below when that is available. Once you have got your transitional requirements ticked off and your supervising solicitor, you are ready to go, and we can dive into the SRA website so I can show you exactly what you need to do and the process that you need to follow in order to qualify this way. Your interface may look slightly different to the screen grab on the video because I'm using my iPad, but hopefully you'll get the gist of it, and the links are the same that you're needing to follow. So if we first go to the SRA website and we scroll down, you want to go under the Are You Becoming a Solicitor? Pathways to Qualification. You then scroll down and there are a bunch of options. Most people now are going to the Solicitor's Qualifying Examination, which is the SQE, but if you have done the LPC, then you want to click on Legal Practice Course. When you get to this page, you'll notice a big red exclamation mark saying you can only qualify this way if you meet the transitional requirements. Those transitional requirements are in that link. You can see that there are 3 different options if you've done the LPC. So you can qualify with a period of recognised training, which is essentially a training contract. You can qualify using qualifying work experience and then doing the SQE2. Now, most people I speak to who've already done the LPC are considering doing this option. This seems to be the thing that most people are talking about. It seems to be the most obvious thing to do because you can bank up your work experience. I'm not sure if that work experience needs to be supervised by a solicitor. That is worth checking out. But again, if you're like me and the thought of doing more assessments is what terrifies you and you just really don't want to be doing it, then I wouldn't be looking at that as an option. So the third option is the one that we're going to be looking at, which is qualifying through equivalent means. Not many people talk about this, and I've only spoken to a handful of people that have just done it, but this is where we're going to delve into. When you click on the drop down, it essentially gives you all of the information that you need in order to qualify through equivalent means. Ultimately, it boils down to whether you have been granted an exemption on one of the following, either the legal practice course or the period of recognised training. What I am trying to exempt myself from is the period of recognised training. And if you are similar to me where you work in-house or you've been working as a paralegal for a couple of years, then this is the area that you want to be checking. If we then click on the period of recognised training exemption, again, it comes up with the same sign. You can only do this if you meet the transitional requirements. Cannot stress enough how much you should be checking that. So if we scroll down, you will see applying for exemption using work experience, which is what we're doing. There are a couple of different requirements under this section which you need to be aware of. Firstly, it needs to be at least 2 years of experience. It does say that they can be voluntary or paid roles. So for example, if you were working in a voluntary role on the side of your day job and that voluntary role was legal work, then that could qualify under this bracket. You need to be meeting the practice skills standards, which is what you are benchmarked against from the SRA for a training contract. So that's the same thing. You need to justify and satisfy those requirements that you are meeting the same standard as you would be if you did a period of recognised training. You've got to be supervised. Not all of your experience has to be supervised by a solicitor, but it does need to be supervised nonetheless. So it needs to be supervised by somebody who is qualified enough to be supervising you in that area that they are supervising. For example, the CFO also supervises me alongside the solicitor. He can vouch for the fact that the softer skills that the SRA requires, such as communication, timekeeping, time management, project management, all of those things, he is qualified enough to say that I'm meeting those. And the final element is that you must be having a regular appraisal. This is on your performance and development, and I did dig into this a little bit more, and I think you only need to have done 3 appraisals throughout the 2-year experience. So I think 1 at the beginning, 1 in the middle, and 1 at the end before you submit all of your evidence. The website then goes on to how to make your application. There is a fee, there's a £600 fee to do this, which I do think is a bit of a barrier to entry, as if you were doing a training contract, you wouldn't have to pay for this. However, if you are working in a law firm, the law firm has to pay the SRA a certain amount every year to have trainees. So I do understand why there is a fee, and also it's a very arduous process having to go through every application, but I do feel it is a little steep for an individual to be paying this. And then if you keep going down, there is literally a step-by-step guide. It's amazing. So you can expand all of them. I'm not going to for the purposes of this, but the one that I would say is incredibly useful is the assessment table tab. So if you open that up and you scroll down, it gives you all of what you need to be putting in your application, the evidence that you need to be putting in, the guidance for the referees that are supporting you, details of your supervisory arrangements, regular appraisals, and then there's this really fantastic example table. This is what the table looks like that you have to submit. So on the left-hand column, they have the outcome that you need to be demonstrating. And then it gives you examples of the knowledge and skills and how you've achieved them, the areas of law, where did you gain it, and the evidence and support. So the evidence and support is where you need to link all of your documentation over the last 2 years of evidence to say, this is my piece of work that justifies this that I have learnt, if you understand what I mean. But just read through that. It's really helpful, gives you examples. And then if you keep going down, there's an additional document that says things that you might want to include. So the document index is also incredibly important. This is where all of your documents must support your work. You need to be taking every piece of documentation that you have worked on over that period of time, redacting all of the personal information, client confidential information, anything confidential, redact it out, and you need to be saving that down, referencing it in a lovely chronological order, I'm sure, and following the document index layout for that. Essentially, that is it. As I said, the step-by-step guide is super useful. You can expand all of those tabs and they go into much greater detail than I'm going to on this video, as I just want to give you a high-level overview of how you can qualify this way and the steps that you need to take. That is it for this video. I really hope that you have enjoyed it and found it helpful if you are in the same position that I am in. Please give this video a thumbs up if you have enjoyed it, and if you have any questions on the topic, then leave me a comment down below and I'll be sure to get back to you. Like I said, this took me months of figuring out whether this was an option for me, and if I can help just one person also qualify in this way and not have to do more exams and jump over more hurdles, then that's all I want. I will leave links to all of the websites down below, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you for watching.